How's everyone doing tonight? Just hopping on here to get into the spirit of the evening. What we'll do is, I would like to start the video just so people can go ahead and give them time to get in. So please feel free to enjoy. And sorry for any technical difficulties. Still getting used to this thing.
Okay.
For today, we'll be studying a creature that I believe many of us are quite familiar with. They always tell us to fear what goes bump in the night, but not I. It's the things that can hunt their prey effectively and efficiently without ever making a noise. So for today, we'll get into a silent hunter known as the shadow people. A shadow person, also known as a shadow figure or a shadow being, is the perception of a shadow as a living, human-type figure, and interpreted as a presence of a spirit or another entity by believers in the paranormal and supernatural. Shadow people are said to move quickly and often vanish when you look at them. Many times, you only catch their movement out of the corner of your eye. Some people say the shadow people wear clothing, while others have described it as a black shape without form or details. Some claim to see shadow people wearing even hats, and others claim that when they see these shadow people, they see nothing but the shadow and a pair of fiery red eyes staring back at them. Many sufferers of sleep paralysis have reported the absolute feeling of dread and opening their eyes to see shadows or shadowy forms around the room. Even eyes staring back at them, looking closely, feeling like they're being held down. Many people have tried to explain the phenomena of sleep paralysis, but yet each experience isn't the same. So, is it those of science trying to explain away the supernatural world? And why is it that so many people waking from sleep paralysis report seeing beings or shadows running out of the room right before they're able to start using their body again? With so many sightings around the world of shadow people, let's see what some of the explanations people have for the existence of these beings are. Let us dig in. Skeptics and those who have never experienced the shadow people phenomena, to them, it is nothing more than an act of human imagination. It's our minds just playing tricks on us, or our eyes seeing something for a fraction of a second that really isn't even there. Just illusions, they say. Real shadows caused by passing headlights or some other similar explanation. Now these may be able to account for some, but not all the experiences. The human eye and mind can be fooled, but as common as these experiences are, I don't believe it's fooled that much. Some people have attributed these entities to being ghosts, but by definition, what are ghosts? Shadow people are somewhat different type of phenomena, whereas apparitions are almost always a misty white vapor and have decided to take human form or appearance. Shadow beings are much darker, more shadow-like, In general, although the shadow people often do have a human outline or shape, because they are so dark, the details of their appearance is lacking. In contrast, many ghost sightings, the witness can describe the ghost's facial features, style of clothing, and other details. The one detail most noted in the shadow beings is their glowing eyes. Some believe they are demons or some other form of entity. They have a dark and malevolent feeling with them that is often reported in association with the shadows. This has led some researchers to speculate that they have a demonic nature, and if they are demons, what you have to wonder is their purpose and intent in letting themselves be seen. Is it merely to frighten or to terrify the ones who they are to draw strength from them? It has been theorized and spoken of by author Jerry Gross. He suggests that the shadow people are the presence or people who are walking around having an out-of-body experience. Perhaps this theory says what we are seeing is the astral bodies of some form of twilight traveler. Also, theories have said that they are people who could have found a means to travel into the past, possibly even time travelers. In that state, they are merely passing as shadows, observing the events from our own personal timelines. Now, those in mainstream science, they speak of interdimensional beings, those who exist out of the normal 3 dimensions that we know of, existing in a parallel universe close to our own, but yet invisible to us. And if these inhabitants are from other dimensions, it is possible that they have found a way to intrude on our dimensions and become partially visible. These shadows could very well be those from another dimension, vibrating on a different frequency, just enough for us to see. Science is just beginning to look at reality on a quantum level, in the same way that these small particles exist as vibrations. Perhaps the vibrations of our existence are beginning to mesh with those of other dimensions. Now, I do see validity in this one, as I do all. But with CERN and splitting and trying to get into other dimensions, even with hearing stories of black matter coming from those dimensions, and when they're taking this stuff to the schools to be researched, haunting spirits, ghosts, shadow creatures, many things have come with this dark matter. Just a thought and a theory. And last but not least, aliens. Now, the alien abduction phenomena, that's a bizarre one, but it's no surprise.
Thanks.
Abductees have reported many cases where alien grays seem to be able to pass through walls and close windows to appear and vanish among their otherworldly talents. Perhaps, too, they can go about their alien agenda disguised as shadows. Or maybe they're just a mystery. Something that we don't know much about. Something that we can't figure out at the time. How long have they been here? How long have they been watching? Do they choose to manifest, or do they choose when not to? No one knows exactly what the shadow people are, but they're all around the world, in every country, in every place. Some have been photographed and others have not. Why do they choose to manifest when they do? Is it simply to bring terror to those? Or can I not control exactly what they do? I would like to know what you think they are and your theories. Please feel free to drop a comment below and tell me what you think of them. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more and further content. As always, I hope you have a good evening. And just remember, when you shut the lights off, it's so much harder to see the shadows that could be creeping around you at any moment. Now, how's everyone doing?
The best little software out there. I still have yet to see anything else that competes with it. So
My fault.
Yeah, still kind of getting used to this, so bear with us. But yes, I hope everyone's having a good night. Unusual night, but yet a good night. Tonight is more or less to focus on getting away from the insanity that the world holds outside of our houses and homes. And sometimes a little bit of fear can be good. So we'll enjoy the night. And I wanted to start it off with that story just to allow people to come in. Now, there's a whole world out there, things we don't know and can't possibly tell, things that are in the spiritual realm. And tonight is when they're said to have numerous amounts of power. But we're not going to lend any attention to them. Just understand that there's a lot that goes on. So there are many stories, and I know that individuals who are here may know some of these stories, may have some of their own, that they are willing to share. Now, if you do have one, please feel free. I'll go ahead and drop my email address in the chat. Drop a line and we can get you up here. Give me 1 minute. Now, what's so interesting is the fact that we lack the ability, some, to imagine that there's a whole nother world out there. A world that's beyond the vision that we have and the things that we can see. But don't put it past anything, not just our five senses. But many of us have experienced the shadow beings. Some have said they've seen things, wolves, creatures, skinwalkers. All these facts that they say are fiction. The mind travels in many different places. No one knows yet exactly where. So for tonight, I want us to sit back and enjoy a good laugh or a good scare, whichever one you prefer. Now let's take a step into a different realm. We have stories from all over. Now, we have Kurimeo up here, and I just want to say, thank you, and those who are here now, definitely thank you for stepping in and stopping by. Awkward night to be doing the stream. I would have done it yesterday, but my kids kind of held me down and wanted me to watch scary movies, so my sincerest apologies. But we will enjoy tonight. Kurimeo, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, it's been well, I'm very eager to hear the stories, man. I'm doing fine myself personally. I'm glad to be here. And I enjoy your stories, man. So, and your voice and everything makes it extra spookier, so.
All good, man. All good. Yeah, I'm just enjoying the night. Being able to breathe and relax, chill a little bit, and hopefully scare a couple of people. So what we'll do is we'll get it started. I did drop my email, but it might actually be a little easier to would it be easier if they contacted you, Kurimeo, or me?
Yeah, any of us. I'll put my email there too. And let us know if the music is too loud or too low.
Yeah, just go ahead and give a heads up. It'd be greatly appreciated. Oh, Peace to all who are showing up, and thank you. But we'll go ahead and get started. Now, this story, it'll give you a whole new meaning to keep an eye out around you. Now, there was a young girl who left home alone with only her dog to protect her. When night approaches, she locks all the doors and tries to lock all the windows. But one specific one won't close. She decides to leave it unlocked and shrugs it off, and she goes to bed. Her dog, he's a real good dog. So he always likes to be beside her. And he takes his place under the bed. In the deep of night, she awakens to a dripping sound coming from the bathroom. Now the girl, she's too scared to check. So she reaches her hand under the bed. And the thing that makes her feel comfort is that her dog licks her hand, and she realizes since the dog isn't freaking out, there's nothing wrong. So she covers up and goes back to bed. She awakens a few minutes later to hear the dripping sound, louder and louder. And she reaches her hand down, and she pats her dog on the head, and she gets the lick from his hand. And then she falls back to sleep. But the dripping continues throughout the night, and she couldn't figure out what it was. So now she's gotten curious. She's trying to figure out what it is, why this noise has been going on all night. So once again, she reaches down to make sure her dog's there, and her hand gets licked and she gets up, but the dog's not moving, so she thinks it's scared. She slowly walks toward the bathroom. She hears the dripping sound, and it gets louder and louder as she walks to the door. Well, she reaches the bathroom and she turns on the light. But what she's greeted by, you would never expect. Hanging from the shower nozzle was the dog, with its throat slit and its blood dripping into the bathtub. And something on the bathroom mirror catches her eye, and she turns around. And written on the bathroom mirror in her dog's blood's words are, "Not only dogs can lick." That's one of just many horrifying stories. If you can just imagine and think what goes through the mind of someone, whether true or false, these things are the things that make our minds twist and scare us in the evenings. The things that make our brains travel. These things are the things that I may consider fun and others do too. Why do we watch horror movies? Why do we like to be afraid? The adrenaline, the dopamine. That is it. Now, Cordy Mail, I don't know about you, but if that happened to me, I don't know how I'd react personally.
Yeah, man, when it comes to things like this, I'm more like, I accept that it exists, and I try not to mess with it. Try to always vibe high, because I feel like when you vibe low and you're full of fear like that, you're more susceptible to have these apparitions and have these spirits mess with you and all this stuff. So, I respect what's out there under the sun, and I just try not to mess with it.
Oh yeah, completely understood. That's how I am. I enjoy the stories, but now would I deal with this stuff or mess with it? I'm good. That's never been my strong suit. Considering I sound like someone who belongs in a horror movie, but it's never too much been my strong suit. But there are stories that no one knows about. There's one, for instance, that the Dakota. It was an apartment building in New York City. It has been home to many rich and famous residents since it opened back in 1884. John Lennon and Yoko Ono moved into the building in 1973. And sadly, John was assassinated outside the structure, December 8th of 1980. Before his death, John claimed he saw a crying lady ghost roaming the halls. Then after John died, Yoko, who still lives in the building, said she witnessed John's ghost sitting by his piano. Yoko says John told her, "Don't be afraid because I'm still with you." But the crying lady, she still wanders the halls, trapped in and out between realms, as what's to be thought. Now, to know what really went on, no one knows, but what made these entities manifest in this specific spot? Are there places around the world that manifest spiritual activity, creating ghosts and ghouls? Areas of spiritual pressure, or people who are trapped and can't necessarily understand the crossover? There are different types of hauntings. You have residual hauntings. You have hauntings that they understand what's going on. It's not like they're brainless or mindless, they repeat. You know what they are and they know what you are. Things that can interact. It reminds me of a story growing up that I didn't believe. In the area I used to live in, we stayed between 5 cemeteries. Unusually, we couldn't understand why they were built in that area, why they would have 5 cemeteries sprawled out throughout this little area. But we began to hear noises, and everyone on the block did. It became kind of a normality. At night, you could feel cold rushes of air through the neighborhood. You could feel the cold breeze on your neck. Sometimes you'd hear tapping at your windows at night, knocking on your doors. Some of the people in the local area would hear their doors locking and unlocking at night, only to wake up and run to the door and see that nobody was there. Dogs would howl. They'd bark at things that were unseen. And the whole area just felt eerie. There's something inside. It was terrifying. We did know the past in the air. No one really cared. It was a nice area. The houses were reasonable. The area was really nice. So just as anyone would, we moved there. None of us really questioned what was going on in the area. It was beautiful in the daytime. But at night, it was like a whole different world. The street lights would flicker as you see shadows run by. The neighbors. It was unspoken to talk about the things that went on at night there. But during the day, we all knew. Well, while enjoying a scary evening, I tend to get into horror movies. I was with the family and a little younger. The screen door opens and the screen door closes. Not paying attention, we continued to watch the movie. It's a nice, warm summer day. Maybe it could have been the wind. Then the front door opens and the front door closes. This one we paid attention to. This one threw everyone in the house off. So we all looked to the left and we see nothing. No one came in, no one knocked. But all of a sudden you could see the footprints of boots walking across our carpet. Walks past the TV, slides into the next room, and I hear my room door open and close. At this point, I've become terrified. The entire family was terrified. Later, I go into the room, and the wind chills you to the bone. The windows are open, and I knew I didn't open them. From that point, I no longer went into that room. Later on, I got a job working third shift. So I began to work the night shift. 6 days a week, and when I came home, I was so tired I would pass out in the day. But I never knew what went on at night. Eventually, we began to get reports of glasses floating around the house. Some of them would break and shatter during conversations. Water would turn on and run on its own. The shower would start to kick on. Eventually, it got so bad that we had to move, and I didn't have any knowledge of these things. So one day while getting up, everyone had left and I was there by myself. And there was a rocking chair that would always sit and rock in the corner, slowly back and forth. I always played a joke and I called it Old Man Mike, thinking it was funny, not necessarily knowing that there was something there. So as I walked into the house, I went to the kitchen. The water shuts on, and at this point, everyone else had decided to move. Since I had seen nothing, I didn't pay much attention. So the water shuts on and off, and at that point, I questioned what's going on. Then being there by myself, I noticed certain things start to happen. The lights flicker on and off, and it was subtle things and subtle hints. But you could feel something didn't want us there. So I left the house, and upon walking back in, all the drawers and cabinets were open. It was like things were getting shuffled around in places, and day after day they would come back, and now I started to notice. So one day while walking back out of the house, the door slammed behind me and locked. And not being the foolish one to do what people do in the horror movies, we decided not to stay long. So at this point, we go back in, we agreed, found another house, and started to pack everything up and move. As we would put things in boxes, the tape would open up and the things would be pulled back out. Then we would start to pack things, and it seemed like they would enter back into the house. So one day we decided that we were going to pack everything in the daylight. We got everything into the U-Haul truck. We got ready to go. Everything was good. Nothing was left inside. And as we walked back in, we made sure we cleaned up. The house looked just as good as what we had left it. And then from there, we got everything. So now we're happy we're leaving. We're happy we're going. We're out of there. But whatever it was, I guess, didn't necessarily want us to leave. But one of them did. So as I walked back in to say my final goodbyes to the house and good riddance, in broad daylight, I could look and watch soldiers marching around the walls of the house. Terrified, I ran out of the house and hopped in the U-Haul, and we turned the U-Haul on, and we got out of there. I came back a few years later, and I knocked on the door just to see the people who had lived there, and I wanted to see if they had any weird interactions. The lady was a very nice lady. I knocked, and she opened the door, and I asked her, has there been any mail that's come for us? I was kind of trying to introduce myself in a weird manner. And she looks and she just kind of laughs, and actually she says yes. So everything was fine. And I asked her, so how's the ghost in the house? And I started to laugh. At least I thought it was funny, but she didn't. Her face went straight and she almost turned completely pale, and she pulled me to the side and asked me if I know about him. And I said, who? Her husband didn't believe her and wouldn't let her move out. But she had been trying to get out since they had moved in. She said the door still opens and closes, and those footprints walk straight back to that room. And she said she can even still see and feel someone getting into the bed. So they moved out of that room and they moved in the other. Unfortunately, they had bought the house. So whatever that didn't want us there doesn't want them there. But too bad they have to stay. I wish them the best. And that is an actual experience that I had. That's not a ghost story. That's not anything that's written anywhere. These are memories. Ohio is a very spiritual place. So those who are in Ohio, many of them understand you see things that you never want to see here. That's just one of the many stories and many accounts. There are people who have spiritual balances. There are people who see things that are terrifying, hear things. And that was just one of the many experiences. So Cody Mayo, what about yourself? Have you had any, we'll just call them supernatural experiences that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot, well, earlier your video on the shadow people, I mean, I've seen that a lot. I've encountered them a lot. One example is, when I was little, my dad would, come home late sometimes after drinking or drunk, and he'd just stand in the wall sometimes just talking to himself. And so that was like a normal thing for me. One day I overslept and fell asleep on the couch, and it was dark. I wake up middle of the night. I look towards the kitchen. I see somebody standing, leaning on the wall and stuff. I'm like, oh, my dad. I didn't pay too much mind on it. And next day when I woke up, I found out he never came home that night. So there was something like staring at me the whole night. I didn't know. I mean, I got chills when I found out the next day, but I'm just so glad I didn't interact with it the night before. And so that was one crazy experience right there, because I really saw it. Like the thing was just looking at me and moving, and I could have sworn I heard it talking and everything. So I've had my share. That's just one. I don't know if you want me to keep going.
Oh, please do. Please do, my friend.
Yeah. Well, see, when I was little, also, when my mom would tell me, that there was these little, I guess you would call them elves, but they were scarier than elves because these things were very creepy. They would come out and change into whatever. They would try to steal kids, basically. There was a lot of kids going missing. This is up in the countryside in Costa Rica in the mountain. And a lot of kids would go missing and stuff. And, we would, my mom would wake up and everybody would see the little footprints, of animals, even animals that are not up there. Like if you find a bear's paw or something, that bears ain't over there, little footprints of man, little elf-looking footprints and stuff like that. We also had a part where there was this cow, and she had a bell, and this same spot, everybody would always tell, when you walk by it, everybody would hear it. I didn't believe it until one day I got caught up in the local town, because this was up in the mountain, and it was about 5 to 10 miles away in between there from the main city. So I got caught. There was no electricity on the way. There was no street lights. And when I passed that area, man, I'm telling you, I just I just put my faith in the Most High, and I said, hey, let me get home, please. And the crazy thing is, you can definitely hear the bell out there, man. And you look over to the side and you see like, shadows. You see, creature animals big. It's not a cow. It's not a horse. Because most of the time, people would lock up or would have their cows, their horses locked up at night. They don't just walk around like that in the middle of nowhere. They usually stay with the herd or something like that at night. And that freaked me the hell out. As soon as I heard the bell, I just ran. I didn't look back until I saw a street light. And then I kept running someone until I got to my grandma's house, and I was white. My grandma had to like make me tea and everything, and she said I was white. So I've had my scares, I mean, I got so many, I just gotta remember. But I mean, they're out there. I mean, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that we live in a spiritual world as well, and if we're not, like vibing right, and if we're vibing low, and that's you're very susceptible to either being possessed, being scared, constantly. So
Oh yeah, that's the truth. Well, coming up, I always had a fear. It was an unusual fear. It was a fear of dolls, and I never knew why. We had a family friend that used to collect dolls. She was into a couple different things, a little odd, witchcraft, stuff like that. I never got into it. Didn't know anything about it. I was still young, about 7 years old. And I do remember that she was the first one to terrify me of dolls. She told me what dolls were originally meant for, and that some people couldn't let go of the dead, so they created dolls that looked almost lifelike to house the souls of dead children and dead infants. And I could remember hearing cries come from some of those dolls, man. She always got them from around the world. And you would hear the dolls cry, and you thought they had strings and they were animatronic, or the ones from back in the day, you pull the string and they cry, or the Baby Alives. Problem was, they didn't have those at the time. This was back in the late 80s. So you would hear these things cry, and sometimes they would move, and we thought she was joking and just terrifying us, telling us, they had a life of their own. Of course, at the time, you had movies that showed lifelike dolls and, all that crazy stuff. So we never paid attention. But she would never give one away. My sister wanted this baby doll from her. She kept telling her no, because the baby doll has to accept you. You don't accept the baby doll. So my sister would go over there, and she was a nice woman. Her house wasn't creepy. She just collected dolls. So after asking and asking and asking, my sister never got the doll. Never could. So we went home, and the weird old lady down the street continued to have her dolls. So one day, my sister hears whining, and she couldn't figure out why. So she looks around and she's like, okay, something's not right. So she hears more whining, and she looks around the house and she's trying to figure out where the whining came from. Because at the time, my little brother was just turned 4 and he wouldn't cry like a baby. So my sister gets up and looks around the house, goes downstairs, cuts the light on. It's the middle of the night. So she goes and gets me. I was playing Sega at the time. We all remember Sega, and I was a Mortal Kombat fan back then. And she comes and gets me, and she asks me if I hear the crying, and I don't. So after we go through the house and we're looking, and we look for the dolls and all that stuff, and there's nothing there. So she goes back up in her room, and she lays down in her bed, and she rolls over, and I hear her scream. So I throw my controller down and I run out the room, and I'm like, what? And I thought it was a scream of terror, but it was a scream that she was happy. And she was like, where'd this doll come from? And it was the same doll she was asking the lady for. So we get up the next day and we go to the lady's house. And we're like, okay, cool. So she takes the doll back because my mom and my aunt said, get rid of it. It just creeped them out. They didn't want it there. So my sister gets up and we head down there. It was a Saturday morning. That's why I was up late on a Friday playing Sega. Back then, wasn't allowed to stay up overly late. So we get up, we head down there first thing in the morning, and she takes the baby doll to the lady and she thanks her and says, "Thank you for giving me the doll, but I can't accept it." And the lady had the most perplexed look on her face. And she said, "What doll?" So my sister reluctantly gives her the doll and hands it over to her. And she's just kind of looking. And the lady said, "I never gave you the doll, you took it." My sister didn't take it. I knew she didn't. She didn't have a backpack or anything it would fit in. So my sister goes back home, and later that night, we hear the same whining again. So at this point in time, we go back. I know my sister didn't steal it. She just handed it back to the lady. We hear the whining, and my sister this time, her scream wasn't a scream of happiness. It was a scream of terror. So my sister grabs the little baby that was whining and she picks it up and it starts laughing. So she thinks it's a cool doll, but at this point she's scared and she's terrified that mom is going to whoop her butt for stealing that doll. So we get up the next morning and we take it back to the lady and she apologizes and she tells her, "Look, the doll's creeping my mom out. It makes too many noises. My mom won't let me keep it. She doesn't trust the doll." The lady grabs the doll and says, "What do you mean it makes noises?" And the lady shook the doll. And my sister's like, "No, it makes noises. It cries, it laughs, it giggles, it does all that stuff." And the lady said, "This doll doesn't have any insides." So she opens up the back of the doll and there's nothing but stuffing. There is no animatronics to make it laugh, chuckle, or cry. So once again, my sister goes back. And the lady said, "You have to take the doll because the doll chose you." At this point in time, she goes back. We go back to the house. My sister takes the doll. And for the first couple of nights, the doll chuckles and giggles, and we're terrified at this point. So my mom takes the doll and puts it in the closet. Well, it would end up back in my sister's bed the next morning. So my mom takes the doll and she goes and she puts it in a suitcase and puts it down in the basement and locks the suitcase. But my mom said she could still hear it whining. So my mom takes the doll, gives it back to the lady and says she apologized. We can't keep the doll. So on that note, the lady takes the doll back and she's, happy to take it back. We never saw the doll again. But ultimately, I believe that the doll was showing that it had more of a life than we thought it did. And sometimes entities can hide themselves in dolls. So people believe that it's inanimate objects, but I believe there's something in those dolls and why they're created and why are they created to look so much like children who have passed. What are your thoughts?
Man, that's one of the scariest things to even think about, possessed dolls or like you said, that there was nothing inside to make the noise, like a poltergeist thing, right? That's that reminds me of a story. I actually, this is a good one actually. I'm glad you brought it up. I had like some kind of similar experience, not with the doll, but like a poltergeist kind of experience. I was in Jersey at the time, New Jersey, and I was just driving home from work. Well, my cousin was driving, and it was one of those moments I felt like I was connecting with the Most High. It's something that just had happened in my life, and I had chose to be, a certain way, and I felt like the spirit world and evil spirits wanted to like bring me down, and whoa. Anyways, my cousin was listening to a CD. This is back in the CD days, right? So the CD starts skipping all of a sudden, really fast, like in the movies, like bah, 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 bah. This is a true story. I'm going to tell you. I have, on everything I know, this is like real. This is one of the scariest experiences I've had. So the CD's skipping really quick, and all of a sudden, I'm hearing some like kind of voice starts talking, and I'm gonna do the voice for you guys. It just starts going, like some weird Latin, like some really weird old Latin. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I look at my cousin, and he's just like frozen. He looks white. He's not even reacting to me. I thought he was playing a trick on me. I really thought. I told him, hey, stop messing around, man. So he wouldn't react to me. And then I noticed he's trying to put up and down the volume. He's trying to make it go away or do something. And it wasn't, the volume stayed at the same level. He was going up and down to the point where he reacted to me and looked at me. And then when I really noticed he was actually really scared, I realized he wasn't playing a prank on me. And the thing's still talking. You know, some would say it's probably the CD skipping in the song and just certain parts it would stop. No, it was actually talking. Some weird language. To me, it was like some old Latin. I freaked out. At that moment, I freaked out. I really felt like the car was gonna blow up any moment and everything. I really wanted to get the hell out the car. My cousin still drives it slowly. He's just in shock. He wouldn't even talk to me. He's just looking at me. And then the thing goes, motherfuckers. It said mother, excuse the language. It actually said that. I'm not kidding. I swear I was gonna jump out the car. I was about to jump out the car because I felt like it was just gonna do something to us. And then when I acknowledged it, like when I acknowledged it was real and I said, oh God, like as soon as I said, oh God, like I really got scared. It stopped. The song went right back to the same second, same spot where it started skipping. Like nothing had happened. I couldn't sleep that night. When I got to my cousin's house, I was in Jersey, so I wasn't in my house. I was sleeping over my cousin's house. I couldn't sleep that night. I really felt like the TV was gonna turn on and everything. I literally went and unplugged the TV. I unplugged all the appliances, and then that freaked me out even more. Cause like, wait a minute, let me plug them back in. Cause what if it actually turns on and it's unplugged? That would really freak me out. So I just had a bad night. I know what I experienced. I know that was some kind of message. It was trying to scare me, bring me down, vibe low. Because I felt like I was making a connection, a positive connection right before that. And I feel like it tried to bring me right back down. And ever since then, I realized, okay, yeah, these things are real. Like this stuff happens. Hauntings, poltergeist experience. These things are real. All right. So that was one of the scariest moments in my life, actually. And you have to be there to believe it. A lot of people probably tell me I was just making up stuff. I was, you're just scared and all these ideas in your head and you just don't know what you're saying. But no, I experienced it. I heard him. He was talking something and he said that word at the end. He swore at us. I understood it and everything. And that was really crazy. It's funny now when I hear it. Like when I talk to people, it's really, it's silly. It's funny, but ever since then, I always try to stay up and vibe up just to make sure I'm not vibing low, like easily possessed or anything like that, where I'm being haunted. Because this stuff is serious. To me, it's serious. I know we live in a spiritual world, and just like there's good spirits, there's bad spirits, and then just being in Jersey and just hearing about the Jersey Devil and all that stuff, that just a lot of that made me think, and I was like, wow, man, did that being actually try to communicate with us? And the funny thing is, my cousin thought, I'm not gonna lie, we we did do some herb, right? Not right before, but at least an hour before. I mean, for me it wasn't, and I was already kind of sober. But for him, he was a rookie to it. So he explained it to himself that he was high, and he never smoked weed again. That was his way of never ever smoke weed. Didn't really help much because he likes to drink now and all that. But to him, that was the weed. That's how he coped with it. To me, I was like, okay, man, believe what you want, man. We both were there, man. So yeah, that was another story.
Oh, dude, I believe that one. I'm real iffy about electronics, and only because growing up, we were taught that spirits are energy and they're a form of electricity. I didn't believe it, but you can kind of feel it. especially when you get the jolts through your body, et cetera, et cetera. My Uncle A died, and when he passed away, I still don't say his name. Just, it still creeps me out. Everyone went to his funeral, and after his funeral, he was cremated. So we go over, and they're getting rid of some of his affairs. And at the time, you know, different people took different things, and we needed a TV, so we went ahead and we grabbed the TV. On the way home, I got so terrified because we heard scrambling from the TV noise. So we're like, okay, something's not right here. We hear scrambling. So my dad looks around and he looks at my mom, and my mom looks back at us, and we hear talking. We had it in the trunk. So we go ahead and we kind of look back here and we wonder why the noise is coming into the car and it's loud. So my dad pulls over to the side of the road, and you can hear it sounded like somebody was burning. I don't know if it was his wishes to be cremated or not. I don't ask. But we kept hearing something. The TV was loud, but coming through that back seat with the cushion, it sounded low. And you just heard it. Why did you burn me? Why did you burn me? Yeah. So we get nervous. So my dad goes in the back seat and he looks, and he pops the trunk, and we don't hear anything. So we're like, okay, that's unusual. So this time we take the TV out and we put it in the back seat with me and my sister. We're driving off, and you start hearing it scramble, and this time it's loud. And my dad looks back and he sees my Uncle A on the screen, and he's laughing. We got so scared, my dad stopped on the side of the road, hopped out, made us get out, took the TV, set it on the floor. And when we pulled off, even though the screen was black at the time, you could still hear static coming from it. And to this day, my dad will not sleep with a TV plugged in. Like, he does not deal with plugged in TVs. And if he does, he has to have wrestling or something on. He has to have something to blur out the sound. And I don't know what happened, but mentally that one threw me off. So even to this day, I don't really fool with too many electronics, because I believe that's how some things try to enter in this world. But yeah, well, Nagi wanted the link, so could you share that with him, because he wanted to step up in.
Yep, I'm sharing it with somebody else right now too.
Oh yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, it's an extremely crazy world out there. So we're gonna go up and we're gonna bring a few people up here. Got to get Brother Wanagi up here so we can share some of his stories. I apologize you have to hear my voice so late at night. Most people tend to listen to my videos in the daytime.
Yep.
I get that a lot, a whole lot. So now that I'm thinking, I probably should have done this live a little earlier. But to all those who are here, thank you for coming. But while they're coming in, we'll go ahead and talk about electricity in the fields and how some things are just scarier than what we would ever know. With the invention of the television, many people stayed away from it because they called it not only like what it was called, the television, but they called it the devil box. Many places actually stayed away from the radio. The radio was good to broadcast things, but back in the day, a lot of people said their radios would click on and start to play things that they didn't play. And I remember my grandmother had an old 1930s radio, and it would turn itself on and it would play old music, and it would throw me off a little bit. So I always thought it was just her playing a joke. For some odd reason, our minds don't generally click on well when it comes to hauntings. It seems like we want to deny the spiritual realm or the spiritual world. I'm not saying go into it. I'm not saying even jump onto the spiritual plane, but just what I'm saying is understand that there's more out there than we know. But Wanagi just jumped in. How's it going, brother?
What's going on, big bro? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
All right. What's good to the tribe? What's good, Kirmail?
I'm good, Wanagi. Nice to have you on.
It's good hearing this tonight on this Hallows Eve, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some good stories, man. Y'all letting it off.
Yeah,
Definitely got me
man.
looking around the house right now, like, like what's going on?
Yeah, man. Hey, the stories I'm telling, dude. I don't know about the hand licking one. That's one that, was brought up, but the ones with the doll and everything, that really happened, man, coming up. And I know
That's
you got
crazy.
some accounts, man. I know you do.
Man, being from South Carolina, man, you just like it's crazy stuff all the time. You hear crazy stories, you see stuff. Being in the military, I've seen stuff and had stuff happen. So it's yeah, I got a couple.
Hey, go ahead. Let us know what you got, man.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So I'll start off with a story about my grandfather. And I got to give you a little bit of backstory with it first. He's like a war vet, and been through a lot of stuff. Like me getting older, I he's always been in the house to me, like watching TV. He's always sat in his little corner. But me and my cousin used to mess with him a lot when we were younger. We would scare him and stuff like that. Cause if you've ever had any relatives or any family members that have been to war and stuff like that, you can kind of scare him a little easier than the rest. And we would scare him all the time. And he would always tell us, when I die, I'm gonna come back and scare y'all real bad.
Oh man.
and we would start laughing and stuff like that. We scared him so bad one day he kind of chased us out of the house, and I had to try to jump off the steps, and my cousin is running out the house, but he ended up passing. And my mom came and picked me up from school and let me know he had passed and stuff like that. And I wasn't really thinking about that right then, about him scaring us, just going through the motions of a funeral and stuff like that. And the day of the funeral, went to the funeral, and the whole day, me and my cousin had been feeling weird. It's just like I was over his house before the funeral, after the funeral. So it's like we've been. You know how you feel somebody around you, but nobody's around you. I don't know if anybody's ever felt that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So the funeral happened. We went back to my cousin's house, and we're sitting there watching TV and stuff like that. My uncle was downstairs. My aunt, I don't even think she was home at the time. And he has two beds in his room. They sit like kind of catacornered, and the way we were sleeping, our feet could touch, but they couldn't touch across the room, if you understand what I'm saying. And we're sleeping, and I can kind of feel something like scratch the bottom of my foot, but you're in like the middle of a sleep. So really, you're not really thinking because you think you're sleeping. And then it's like I had you know how somebody puts their nails down your feet, the middle of your feet?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it had to be him. So I'm gonna say him. He scratched down the middle of my feet and my cousin's feet at the same time. So when we both popped up and looked at each other, we were like staring across the room from the beds. Like we hopped up the same time and looked at each other. Like I got chill bumps right now talking about it. And like we were scared. Like he scratched us, and then I bet he was standing there laughing the whole time at us. That's what was so crazy about it, probably. But it's like it was scary. Me and him jumped up, ran downstairs, and my uncle is down there, and we tell him the story. He just laughing, and he's like, yeah, he said he was gonna come back and get you guys. But we was hurt that night. We was hurt. I don't think we went to sleep the whole night at all. But that's just one of the stories I have. As far as I know you were talking about somebody passing, so I thought about that story right then. But that's just one story. But yeah, craziness.
That's crazy, man. Really crazy, especially when they tell you they're gonna come back and scare you.
Yeah, he told us.
Man, why he do that?
Yo,
Man.
We didn't go to sleep the whole night. It was like the next day it felt weird. Like we were sitting there looking around and looking over our shoulder, and told my grandmother what happened, and she said the same thing. He said he was gonna come back for y'all. Y'all kept messing with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
I got stored.
I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah.
My uncle did the same thing when he passed. He was a Vietnam vet. He would always be downstairs in my grandpa's house. And he never turned the lights on. He never came up. My grandfather took good care of him. But he was in a wheelchair. He didn't have his legs. So my grandfather put a bathroom downstairs for him and a shower. And he would go down and help him. And he had PTSD real bad. So my grandfather, he would take care, he would help cook for him. And I mean, he took really good care of him, but unfortunately he ended up passing. And he had this big thing. He loved Kung Fu movies. So after he passed, we went down there and we would clean up and we would go ahead and go through the house. And I tried to help my dad as far as, cleaning up, getting things ready. And we were going to redo the basement. So we started tearing up the carpet and everything else. Started painting the walls, getting it done. Grandpa was going to sell the house. Well, I lived there for a minute because it was easier for me to live there and kind of remodel the basement because I could do it in my free time. I got terrified of staying in that basement because you could hear his wheelchair roll back and forth. And we had got rid of all of his affairs, but you could still hear his wheelchair roll through the basement. And since he never left and had his everything there, to this day, if you go to that house, you can still hear his old wheelchair rolling back and forth across the floor, dude. Still scares me to this day. And he knew at night he would wait down there and scare us when he knew we were coming down the steps. After that, dog, I could not go down there after dark working on the house because the lights would flicker and you'd hear him roll back and forth. So my grandpa, in order to get the sound to stop, he put a TV and took the old school VHS tapes. And then eventually we got DVDs before my grandfather passed. And he would play the old school Kung Fu movies he would watch. And you wouldn't hear his wheelchair roll as long as those were turned on, even if the volume was down. But it scared my grandpa so bad that he didn't know what to do except to get peace at night. He would have to play those DVDs and it'd be perfectly silent, like he was still down there watching the movies. So yeah, my bad. I didn't even mean to bring that one up.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
That's wild.
We got G. We got G here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Peace.
How's everyone doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
Pretty good. How's it going?
Just listening. Yeah, I got a story. You was talking about shadow people.
Yeah.
Back whenever I was 15, I believe, we had moved to Tecumseh, and it was a brand new Indian home. We lived with my stepdad, and I was the only child at the house. I had the biggest room in the house. About 15, I started, or 16, I started going through depression. I didn't know what was wrong with me. My mom thought, it's just being a teenager and hormones and all that. And but I always felt like I was being watched, or there was something in the house, and I was alone a lot of the time. I'd come home from school and I was always there by myself, and I slept. Because I always younger, I was always hyper, like constantly, moving around doing things. But whenever we moved there, I started just sleeping a lot and crying like for no reason. But one night, I thought I was losing it. I started seeing like shadows like go across the window. I'd ignore it, and then one night, I think it was about midnight, I fell asleep, and I wear contacts. Like I took my contacts out, but in this room, we had really thin curtains. We didn't have any blinds, and the security light across the road, like it shone to the window, and it was pretty bright in there. And I woke up. I heard my door open, and it shut. And when I looked in the corner, there was a tall shadow figure standing in the corner, and his head like was almost touching the ceiling. And it looked like those, like I said, those cartoon like demonic figures where they have like a black cloak on, whatever, and it was just standing there. And then it started moving towards my bed, and as soon as it started, it was like it was floating. And when it got close, I fell straight back into my bed, and I couldn't move, and I couldn't breathe, I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't scream or anything. And it felt like forever, like probably, I don't know how long I was held down in my bed, and all I could do was pray. And I heard my door open, and I jumped up. As soon as the door opened, I was able to get up, and when I looked, this thing had just floated out of the room into the living room, and my door just shut on its own. And I ended up looking, let's see what time it was, and it was like 3:30 something in the morning, and I was freaked out. I was pinching myself because I was like, am I dreaming? I was awake, and it really happened. And I was gonna run to my parents' room, but I was like, this thing had just like went out. Like I don't want to run into it. But that was one of the experiences that we experienced in this house, and we found out. I asked my mom about it, and because I knew it wasn't them, but I was told her what happened, and she had been seeing the same things, like the shadows running by the windows, and she had things happen to her, like the shower or the water faucets would just come on, and just weird things. She saw like a black, like mist type thing manifesting in my stepbrother and stepsister's room one night, and found out, I think she had talked to the neighbors, and we had found out that before they had built this new Indian home, that a Satan worshiper actually had a heart attack and died in that house. And I'm guessing that's like, it's still haunted, like the land's haunted. But yeah, we ended up moving out. I think I was 17. We was only there for a couple of years. But yeah, we had a lot of like demonic things holding me down when I was 17.
Wow. I mean, some people would call that, sleep paralysis. And I mean, I had the same experience. It reminded me. Same thing. I'm lying down, middle of the night. I was married at the time. Just had moved in for the one of the first times with anybody on my own outside my family, and I same thing. I just woke up, and I just felt like something was over me. I really felt like something was over me. I didn't think nothing of it. And then when I tried to go back to sleep, it just held me down. I felt the weight on me. Mm-hmm. I tried to talk to my partner. Who was next to me. I looked over. I could barely move, but I looked over my eyes, and I'm like trying to call her. I can.
Yeah.
I'm like, why can't I talk? I've
had it too.
Yep. And then when I realized, And when I say, and then same thing. Every time I freak out, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is the Most High. I
Yeah.
said, and as soon as I thought that, it just came off me.
Mhm.
I had to wake up
Down
my
south, they
wife.
say the witch is riding you.
Mm,
That's what they say. The witch is riding you down
Yeah.
south. So
damn,
That's
that's crazy.
that. I had it happen quite a bit, and I had talked to my mom about it, and she had told me she got to be careful about like who you talk to or who you let into your house because they can follow you back home. And she used to even talk about like the music you listen to, the movies you watch. Like you got to be careful about that. You don't want to be inviting things in that you don't even realize that you're inviting in.
Yeah.
big facts.
Yeah.
I had dealing with my job. We kind of come in after people die in their houses, and just somewhat of what we do, and we'll come and clean up the spot where they be, where they passed away at, and then they've usually been in the house like 3-4 weeks, so you have to take most of their contents out. And I had a new worker with me helping me out, kind of weird type guy a little bit, and we're in this house, and I see him keep looking in this room. Like every time we would walk up and down the steps, he would look in this room. And so when we got to the end of the job, he was telling me, he said the guy that passed away in the house didn't like us in there. I said, what you mean, man? He was like, because every time we would walk up the steps, he would always give me like a crazy look. And I said, what are you talking about? And he was telling me his background, which is his mother and grandmother were witches. And this is a melanated guy.
Damn.
They deal with like witchcraft and black spirits and stuff like that. And he said he could see like he's kind of like them. He has the blood of them, so it's a bloodline thing. He says like they're like some of the originals. You get what I'm saying? So he said he could see the guy every time he walked up the steps and every time we walked back down. And he said the guy was just staring us down the whole time while we was taking his stuff out the house.
That's crazy.
And I couldn't even see him. So I just kept seeing him look over every time we would walk past a certain part going down, which it was a room. And I would just look over with him, but I didn't see what he was seeing. But I could feel it in the house though. That's what's so crazy about it. You could feel it.
Yep.
Like it's
Hey.
always an eerie feeling. So it's like to be with somebody that can see stuff like that, it's just like, yo, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
that reminded me of one too. I had moved into this apartment and it was on the third floor, a triple decker house, and it was always, first of all, it was always cold as shit in there. It doesn't matter how we sealed it and how we try to be warm. It was always cold in there. And where my son slept, it was a weird room. It was the coldest room. He was like 5 at the time. He's a lot older now, but there was we let this cat in once because when we moved in there, this just had a lot of mice still here and there. So we let this cat that the neighbor had. The cat was always in the hallway, and it was a black cat. And now you know how G West said, "Be careful what you invite in." I kind of messed up, right? So one night I don't know what it was. Well, first of all, my son's he didn't like the room. Like literally, he said he didn't like because there was monsters under his bed. But I just thought it was kid stuff. They're always scared. That's what I was thinking. And I just woke up one middle of the night and I just had the urge to go to my son's room. And I tell me why I went over there and the damn cat is over his body, like doing the mouth to mouth thing, just like in a movie. Like I was, cats are weird. I've seen them do that before with pregnant ladies and stuff. And so I got so pissed. I told the cat, I literally almost killed the cat and kicked it out. But that just left me very eerie. Like I was like, what the hell just happened? All right. So another day I'm alone. All of a sudden I hear something in the kitchen. And I'm like, what the hell was that? And I just felt this, I got goosebumps. I felt this breeze come over. I was like, oh, okay. At that moment, I accepted it. I was like, there's something in this apartment. And I said, I literally started talking to them. I was like, hey, you cool with me, you know, just don't mess with us, you know, do your thing, just, you know, don't mess with us, you know, I don't mess with you. I stay away from you, you stay away from me. And that's how I dealt with it. You know, I was alone that I was freaking out. Come to find out, you know, so I go to the owner, he lived in the second floor. So I asked him, hey man, like, anybody ever say this was haunted or anything? He's like, well, my mom died here, and they have seen her in the back hall stairs going up. I'm like, what? And as soon as he told me that, I got chills. I'm like, oh. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not a threatening ghost or anything. It's just an old lady who's there, old soul trapped, whatever. I don't know. But I had to move out, man, and I felt it the whole time I was there. I didn't. That apartment, I never liked it, and my son never liked it, and the cat was always weird, and the cat would be waiting at 5 a.m. when I go to work. He's in the front door every day, like waiting for me to open the damn door. So there was definitely something in there, and then the owner confirmed it. So, you know, crazy.
Oh yeah, man. There's
So cats are evil?
no, not all, but
okay.
cats are messengers. If you look back, that's why a lot of the pharaohs kept cats, not just dogs, but cats would scare away evil spirits. The problem is some of them could be possessed by evil spirits also. That's what's been said. And that's why many ghosts are scared of cats. If you look at movies and different stories and tales, ghosts are terrified of cats because cats are the destroyers of evil spirits in other worlds. Well, in the underworld.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you think he was there to actually help me?
No, not in that case.
Not that way.
Oh man.
Nah. We had one that stayed over my grandpa's house, and I've always been more, I like dogs. But my grandpa would always tell me, because we had a bad thing coming up in the country, people would knock on the door and you'd be like, come in. That's the first thing you say. And my granddad and my grandma, they always told me, you announce that person by name. You never say just come in your house. And I was like, what, you scared that somebody's going to come in? They're like, no, not somebody, but something. So, not paying attention, of course. At the house I'm in now, we just moved in. It was our first month here. Get a knock on the door. And I forget because I was half asleep. So I'm like, it's on the back door. So I'm like, come in, And I was like, oh, man, that ain't good. But it was daylight, so you never would have suspected anything. The door doesn't open or close, but I feel something grab my hand. And I open my eyes, and it's a little girl. And she's dressed in like she came from the 1800s. She was in a white dress and had red bows in her hair. And she grabbed my hand and said, Dad, it's time to go home. I looked, I'm like, sweetheart, I'm not your dad. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing in this house. And she was just as real as it was like she was standing right next to me. So she's like, Dad, it's time to go home. And I told her, I'm like, sweetheart, I'm not your dad. How are you in my house? I'll go ahead and I'll call the police. They can come get you because you must be lost. I reach for my cell phone, and my cell phone gets knocked off the couch onto the floor. So I look, and that's when I realize this little girl ain't alive. So she gets mad, and she starts walking toward the back door and said, Dad, I told you it's time to come home. So I was like, look, I don't know what you are, don't know where you come from, but sweetheart, I'm not your dad. So doesn't open the door, doesn't close the door. I go to grab my cell phone. I pick it up. She's outside my backyard. And then she tells me, don't worry, Dad, you'll come home eventually. Haven't seen the little girl since. But I will tell you that scared the life out of me. So even to this day, I'm still iffy. So now when a person knocks on the door or anything, I have to look out and announce by name that they can come in, because I've had to sage my house a lot after that. And that's a memory you never forget. My bad, it got real quiet after that.
Nah, you good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple different experiences. After my grandfather passed, he died of black lung. He was in the military, you know. He had cancer. He passed. And he passed away in his room. And when he passed, we don't know what happened, but blood came out of his mouth, you know, God rest his soul. So we went and switched out his carpet and did everything to get the house ready to be sold. And every time we put down new carpet, the same blood stain that was there would come up through the floor every time we changed the carpet. Nobody would buy the house. You could scrub the stain. You could try and get the stain out. You could change the carpet. That same stain would appear right around the anniversary of when he died, and it wasn't coming out. So my dad tried to buy the house. Eventually, his girlfriend, when he had passed, she ended up buying the house and she stayed there. She bought it. And after a while, she said she just couldn't take it anymore because it reminded her of my grandpa. And she said she would hear him walking around and moving around. So she moves out. She moves to a different house. She can't take it anymore. And then just sitting there, we're sitting there chilling. And we get a call. And all of a sudden we're like, all right, cool. What's going on? So my grandma's like, somebody's at the old house. So we go and we're going to the old house. And I'm like, all right, it's got to be a bum or somebody. We go to the old house. No one's in the house. The alarm went off. A couple months later, same thing happens. But this time it is a bum. So we go over there, go to the house. There's somebody squatting in the basement, brought in a bed and all that other stuff because the house is in the hood. But it's weird because even though all my grandfather's stuff was out of there, he still knew my grandpa's name and he knew my uncle's name who had passed away in the basement, the one in the wheelchair. So when they took the dude and they took him to a homeless shelter and all that other good stuff, my grandma didn't press charges. But when they took him, he was telling her what they were saying to her as he was being taken away. Yeah, so sometimes you got to be careful because he said he had permission to stay there. We never knew him, and there's no way he could have known the names of the people who were there. So just to show, I believe my grandfather went to a better place, but I don't know what's playing pranks on his behalf. I'll say that. But yeah, we got a Cherokee King Yeshua here. How's it going, my brother?
I think he's still connecting his audio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll give him a second. I apologize on that. But yeah, those are just some of the random experiences. It's funny when you look back in your mind how many experiences you've had that sometimes you put in the back of your mind or you lock them away. Things that you can just discount or write off as something that was explainable. But a lot of the time they really aren't. So that's something I want people to think about. These are our experiences. How many others, go on consistently that people don't talk about? But yeah. We'll go ahead and let him connect, and then once he connects, we'll go ahead and let him take the floor. But y'all got anything else y'all want to go up the plate?
Have you guys ever had any experiences with little people?
Yes.
Yeah.
With what?
Little people?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like in the countryside here, I mean, before technology came out, like for some reason the TV and the radio was first. There was just so many, like it was a common thing up in the mountains. We would find the footprints. Kids would go missing all the time. Stories of these things turning into something and wanting you to follow them. So whatever you like the most, like if you like the pony, it would turn into a pony, and yeah, but they would take the kids, man, and a lot of kids used to go missing in the countryside. And my mom, when she tells me the story, she's not one to just make up stuff and just talk about ghosts and stuff. Huh?
That in Costa Rica?
Yeah.
You're talking about? Oh wow.
Yeah, we call them duendes or elves, whatever. But yeah, they oh yeah, she had the little footprints every morning, boom, everywhere, little footprints of men.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same story here in Oklahoma. They will try to lure, children into the woods, get them lost and stuff. I've never
Oh wow,
seen
same.
them. Yeah, it's the same story. That's crazy. Um, but my mom, she lives on a popular road that's known for seeing little people and all kinds of dark things. It's called Moccasin Trail. And I've never seen them, but I believe like one night I had heard one of them. My oldest daughter and I both, we had went out to my mom's, and she was supposed to meet us at her place like at the same time. And when I got there, I told my daughter Jordan, I was like, I'm gonna jump in the shower real quick. Uh, you know, can you keep an eye on uh, my youngest daughter, Peyton? She was just an infant. She was still in her car seat asleep. And I left the bathroom door open just in case, she woke up, started crying. And while I was in the shower, I heard my mom's voice, and I heard her, say, Peyton. And so I was like, oh, okay, she's here. Like, I don't have to worry about rushing, trying to hurry up. And when I got out, I sat down to put on my makeup and everything. And Jordan, she looked at me and she was like, I heard grandma's voice while you was in the shower. And, because no, I had asked her, I was like, where's grandma at? And she's like, she's not here. And I just froze and I was like, what? I didn't say anything because I didn't want to freak her out. But that's when she had told me she had heard grandma's voice too. And so I freaked out. I get up and I'm thinking somebody's in the house, and I get a knife and I'm going through each room and everything. But anyways, I call my mom and I'm like, where are you at? She was like, oh, I stopped to get you guys something to eat. I'll be there in about 15 minutes. And she was like, why? I was like, because me and Jordan heard the voice. But whatever it was, it was trying to get Peyton's attention. And like I said, she's just an infant. We never seen anything, but it sounded just like my mom. It mimicked her voice. It was creepy.
Yeah. Damn. I think Cherokee's. I think he got his audio working now. Just got it on mute.
Ah, okay. Yeah, sure. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, A New Breed?
Peace.
What's up, Hannah? Everybody.
Peace,
Yeah, man, y'all had some good stories. Man. I don't know how to compete with that.
Nah,
Hey, man.
It's not
Bring it-
competition.
No,
Yeah,
I know. No,
I
but-
I don't want to be the winner of this. Either way.
No, I know, right?
It's a lot more. It's a lot more to come.
I know, right? Shoot. Well, shoot, man. I got a lot of stories, man, because I like woke up from like dream like injuries and stuff, like sprained ankles and stuff. But I want to talk about something that's something that happened to me that's kind of current. It didn't happen that long ago, and it's relevant to what's happening now, and what's going to happen in the future. All right, now I was doing landscaping. I have an associate's degree in carpentry, all that, so I have all types of skills. You know, I can work with steel and all that stuff. But at the time, I was doing landscaping, and I was like an independent contractor doing it for myself. And I went to this one house and did a house. It's called a town called Gibsonia, Pennsylvania. And I was cutting the grass and all that stuff. And the guy comes out. He's like a so-called white guy or whatever, you know. Notice I said so-called. But yeah, he came out and he's talking to me, you know. And we had small talk, and I'm like, I'm trying to get to this yard because I got other yards to do, and I'm not really trying to, you know, I'm trying to keep it moving. But he's talking to me, and it was small talk at first, and then he came back out when I was wrapping it up, putting my stuff in the truck. And he was like, he asked me a biblical question. He said, what tribe was kicked out of the was like banned from the Israelites? And immediately I said the tribe of Dan. And he was like, oh shit. And and then like he like we had a little small talk, and then he walked away. And then before I left, he paid me before I left. He was like, man, you smoke this, that, and the third. I was like, yeah, I smoke or whatever. And he was like, man, you should come when you come back, we can smoke it or whatever. You can come back the next day or whatever, we can smoke. So me, I'm reading them because like after he asked me that question about like the Bible and all that stuff, and that question right there about the tribes, I was intrigued. You know what I'm saying? So I came back the next day, and I come back, we're talking, and then I meet his wife. She was ruddy. She was copper colored. He was like what you would call, he said he was Russian. Okay. I meet her, we're talking or whatever. We go up in a room or whatever, and we're talking. He tells me what he does. He does metaphysical paintings. And then he said he worked with holographic technology, like advanced holographic technology. So that intrigued me too. And I'm sitting in the room. It's a nice little room, and their back wall, it was a big window basically. You could see out through the whole, like you could see like a tennis court and different stuff. And we're sitting in there. They got the computer on. The throne of Satan is playing on the computer. The throne of Satan. And then we're talking. He starts talking. What do you think about the book of Enoch? And I start running it down because I read that. So I start running it down. Boom, 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 boom. And we're just talking. And like, I mean, if you saw me online or whatever, if you know me online, you know how I am. If somebody say something to me, I'm gonna say something back. That's how I was raised. Like my mother raised me like that. But so me and him's going back and forth, about like having a little, confrontation, like verbally. And mind you, the lady sitting right across from me and him, we're sitting right next to each other, and we're just talking. And he starts getting upset. And then out of nowhere, the lady says, "Stop!" Like she screams, like "Stop!" Like, cause he it felt like, cause I have like these senses where I can like read people, like kind of like when I'm like around people, and I can read their like emotions. I could tell if they're upset or agitated, whatever. And he was getting upset, and she was like, "Stop!" Like, you know what I'm saying? I felt like he was going to shapeshift because it was just too much. He asked me about the book of Enoch. He asked me about the tribe of Dan. The tribe of Dan made a pact with Satan, basically. I'm watching the throne of Satan. I was just putting all the clues together. But like in my head, I wasn't afraid because of my experiences with the sleep paralysis stuff that y'all was talking about. Like when I went through that, like that helped me get over the fear of the unknown, like, but yeah, and they were talking about reptilians and all that stuff too, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And another thing that intrigued me was they were talking about that one boy in Florida that got wrapped in the gym mat, bro. That, remember they took out all of his organs?
I remember that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, bro, that was like around that time. And they said they moved from there, from Florida to Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, and they were talking about that, bro. They mentioned him. They said,
That's
that
weird.
one guy that got wrapped in the thing. And then look, bro, they're down. I'm about to look, see what the moral of this story is. that's how they get you. That's how they get people. If I had fear,
Yeah.
if I didn't learn to conquer that fear of the unknown or stuff like that, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
you wouldn't have been talking to me. And you know what they called me? They called me, I ain't even, I swear on my soul, they called me the son of man. That's what they called me. And I walked out of there because dude was cooking cabbage. I was like, where's the meat at? And in my head, I'm like, I was supposed to be the meat, but I'm not.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. That's what I was trying to say. Like you gotta be vibing high, or else you're likely to get mess. You know, these things from mess with you and stuff, and
That's wild.
possessions and stuff. You know, so
Oh yeah. There's a lot more out there than people want to admit, only because we like being comfortable in the world that we can see, touch, taste, all that good stuff. But yeah, there's a lot more than meets the eye. There's vampires that walk around every day. And when I say vampires, the world consists of individuals who are energy vampires, not just ones who want blood, flesh. There are people who actually absorb negative energy off of those who they're around, and they thrive off of that. Some people call them narcissists, but no, these are actual entities, humans that have either unknowingly or knowingly made a pact where they just enjoy that hate and that anger, and they absorb it. And it just feeds their soul. You know, because we talk about spirits and ghosts do feed on fear, but there are humans, and I know everyone's seen them, humans who feed off of fear, anger, drama. They love that stuff. It actually seems like it energizes them when it drains you, though. Have any of y'all had that experience? But I'm bringing it to the physical realm, but I believe there's a spirit inside some of those people who they're battling or they're conflicted, but the spirit of anger is enjoying like draining energy off people who are trying to be, you know, peaceful people.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
No.
definitely believe so. Definitely.
Yeah, I am dealing with somebody like that right now. Somebody that I talked to, and I made the mistake of I had to block him. He's the biggest narcissist I've ever met, and he gets angry because he can't get a rise out of me. Like he wants to try to like make me jealous or, you know, care. He harasses me, you know, all the time. But yeah, he gets angry. He told me last night that it pisses him off because he can't get me to care about him like that. And I told him, I was like, you're a narcissist. Like he likes that drama. But yeah, I should have never unblocked him. I gotta wait like another 24 hours before I can block this person out. But he's crazy. A lot of crazy people out.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the times you're in conflict with certain people, or you know or something, and a lot of the times that person may not even know they're being used. It's a spiritual warfare, and call it a type of possession. It could be anybody. It could be your best friend. It could be your mom. It could be the person you least suspect. But you're
Yeah.
assuming it's hate. You're just, that person just hates me and always wants to fight with me. And sometimes it's just like what Anu was saying, is these spirits that use people as vessels to come at you, man.
Yeah, my brother is like that, and I have to live with him right now at the moment. But he gets a rise out of just pissing people off. Like I'm like, why? I don't get it. But yeah, I had to grow up with him, and he would intentionally try to just bring me down, like hurtful things. But I said I'm used to it. Like I can, like I said, like he was saying, like reading people. I'm really good at reading. I can feel their emotions as well. And I probably I isolate myself a lot. I don't like going out in public, especially around a huge crowd of people, because I can feel all of their emotions, and it's draining.
Yeah, it drains you exactly. Like that's just the whole object of what they want. You know, it's just like, you know, to drain you, grab your soul, put you in that vibe where you're easily possessed too, and getting angry. You know, and it will let you know. You know, like, you know how he explains. You know how sometimes we're so angry when when we're beefing with somebody, we start shaking, and that's a type of possession too within
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've really had to take a look at myself and like how I've let people affect me. And I went, like I said, younger. I was very sensitive, and I loved everybody, happy-go-lucky person. And then all the trauma that I went through, it changed me. And so now healing from all of the past trauma, it's been a journey. It ain't easy, but getting back to who I was before, it's been a rough year.
Oh, yeah. Well, possession in itself is ownership. Whether it's temporary or permanent, something has your body. And shaking when you're angry, blacking out, not understanding or knowing what you did, who's to say that was really you? No one truly knows.
Hmm.
There have been stories of people doing magnificent things, but also terrifying and horrible things. So, stepping into that realm, that's a whole nother realm of discussion because, once again, we enjoy living in the light and, all the things that go on. But there's a reason why there's a lot of people who fear the nighttime, fear things like that. It'll get to you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I could tell many stories. I was one of those kids when I was young, and there are certain areas of spiritual energy, including train tracks. If you look at good conductors, we have a place down the street. I'm pretty sure Opie Mija is familiar with it. Um, but there's a spot that everyone knows, these cornfields. And if you look out probably about 300 yards, you'll see two giant scarecrows that hang up. But you can actually, if you stay by the road, you'll see these scarecrows come down and you'll start to see the corn break left and right. And it seems like something's running up to the road, but it never gets close enough for you to see it. But it'll sprint and it's fast enough to like knock the corn out of the way. And it's something that people do all the time down here. There's areas in train tracks that you'll drive over and you'll start to feel your car try to shut off if it's a certain time.
Yeah.
There's all types of crazy stuff. There are spiritual vortexes in this world. And there's some stuff that I watched. There's a railroad off the street called No Bixby that I live by. And I used to walk home a lot because I was into that whole eerie, creepy, wanted to see what was going on. And I see a bunch of kids in greaser jackets chasing another kid. So they're being out of date and out of style. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me go help this kid because there's 5 chasing him. So I run down, I get near the train tracks. I look and I see that these kids are transparent. The one kid, he's a copper colored kid. The other kids, they're in greaser jackets with their hair slicked back and they're chasing them. And it was there was a school jacket of the school that was right down the street. So I guess it was after a football game or they had beef with the school or whatever happened. They're chasing him. And as a train goes by and the light from the front of the train hits them, it looks like they were all transparent and parts of their faces were missing. Because I found out later that those kids, they were running on the train tracks and they were playing. They weren't chasing him to physically hurt him. The story was they were playing afterwards and they were a little buzzed and they were trying to play chicken with a train and the train smacked and killed all 5 of the kids. And to this day, you can still see those kids playing on the train tracks. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff if you're sensitive enough. But you don't always want to be sensitive to everything that's out there.
I guess
Yep.
that's what I always wanted to like understand is like when something traumatic like that happens, like is that their world now? Like they have to replay all of those experiences. I don't like I said, I don't understand.
Ripples in energy. When you get into residual hauntings that happen consistently over and over,
Hmm.
the theory is, this is just a theory. I don't know. I've never sat down and talked to a residual haunting, but anyone that happens over and over again, it
Hmm.
was so catastrophic and depressing that the energy that was exerted imprinted in time,
Oh wow.
because time is relative to humans, but the spiritual world, time doesn't exist. So for them, it said that they keep replaying the same thing over and over again, or it's literally a ripple in time where the effect is there and it just consistently happens because the negative energy from that situation has imprinted until the end of time. That's just the thought behind it, but that's just the residual.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot out there.
Hey, you're right, a new breed. I agree with you.
Oh yeah, dude. I already know, like, I know you're familiar with energy, linear time, spiritual time. You've talked about it before. But yeah, time is, our bodies age, but the energy never ages. Energy can't be created or destroyed, but you can make a ripple in time with those energies. And it's been proven with CERN and everything else going on, hauntings are higher than ever. Spiritual invasions are higher than ever. I mean, the Catholic Church is actually trying to hire priests in order to start doing what are they called when they remove the ghost? Exorcism.
Exorcism. Yeah.
Because they said some of the priests who are out doing exorcisms are so terrified they're leaving the faith.
Hmm. I could imagine.
So right now, where this is just my belief, take it with a grain of salt, but right now we're at a precipice. Something big is going to happen, and it's not just on a physical level. Right now, anger is coming to a boiling point, and once it boils over, I don't think people are ready for the shit that they're going to see. And I say that being literal. If people think they're terrified now, just wait. The more anger and rage, if this world doesn't correct itself with some form of love and compassion, all that anger and rage gets fed to evil spirits. And trust me, once they've got what they needed, they're going to start showing themselves. So not only do we manifest our realities like Wanagi says, but sometimes we manifest a hell of a lot more than that. And some of the things that we manifest aren't things we want to see face to face.
Mm-hmm.
So you think it's like old creatures coming back or stuff that's hidden right now?
I believe the Nephilim never left, man. I believe them Nephilim never left, and they're just being energized right now. The hate and the anger, and warning, conspiracy theory coming. But the book says we don't fight amongst flesh and blood. We fight with principalities and evil in high places. I believe that some of this government and these entities are ran by those Nephilim. And as long as they keep us separated in anger and hatred, we juice them. They want eternal life. So just my theory. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. But
You
I do
know,
believe. Oh, go ahead, brother.
I just watched a movie again today. What is it called? The Cabin in the Woods. And they had all those killings, and they had to kill like the virgin, and they had the just different types of people they had to kill, like kill them a certain way, and it fed energy to like the bigger being that was underground. That's crazy.
Well, there's a truth to that. Like, I'm going to bring up an old movie, Ghostbusters 2. And, you know, it may have been a comedy, but if you really look at what was going on in that movie, all the anger, the hatred, the rage was going under New York City, and it was flowing into Vigo, that painting, and it needed enough hate to come back to life. I really believe that movies give us hints into what's going on. we think it's a comedy, but why was it so spot on that negative energy could bring back something so hateful that wanted to return to this world?
Mm-hmm.
But positive energy was the only thing that could weaken it. Not the Ghostbusters, not their proton packs. Nothing could weaken it except for when they started singing the New Year's song and they gave up on
Yeah,
hate.
that whole
showed
city.
love.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. So I believe we were getting hints, and some people may not believe it, but you know, to each their own.
Hey, I guess, can I add? Oh, sorry. You still talking? Sorry.
Now repeat that.
Oh no, I was just gonna add on because I believe everything what you're talking about. I know it's gonna happen. That like art imitates life. They play it all. They mock us all through Hollywood. There's a cartoon on Netflix called Blood of Zeus.
Yes,
Y'all should
just
watch.
came out.
They mentioned the seraphim. Those are the fallen angels that made the giant. And I put a video on my channel about the Smithsonian having a release all the evidence of the giants that they found in North, Central, and South America. Because whether people want to believe it or not, we're all like related, like in that manner. But we all have our own republic. So that's the thing. So you have to fall under your republic where you're at. But yeah.
So wait, the seraphim were evil?
Yeah, we're actually angels. We're the Orphan from the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades.
Pleiadians?
The Pleiades, yeah, the seven stars, the Pleiades. It's in because the Most High made the Pleiades. He made all this stuff, but it's in a reference to that is Job. What is it? 9:9. Hold on, let me go and let me make sure. I think it's Job 9:9. There's 3 verses, but they don't like. It's hard to find the third one. Hold on, let me see, because I have the
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, we can go on this for days, but I'm not gonna go too far because I have to do a video. I actually promised somebody I would knock out 2 videos, so I'm trying to get them done. Trust me, those are going to be really nice because it brings the horror movie genre to life. Because a lot of the horror movies that we have, we really don't know that they actually exist. So art does imitate life. It's insane.
Oh, I found them. Job 9:9 and Job 38:31. Chapter 38, verse 31. Job 9:9 talks about the Pleiades and the Orion and all that.
Well, actually, man, would you like to come on for the extraterrestrial build?
Oh yeah, for sure, because it talks about UFOs in the Bible too. I know where that is too.
Oh yeah, the book of Ezekiel. Yeah, we'll chop
Zechariah
it up.
too.
Yep. And
You
actually,
know I'm
Bookie,
there for the ET.
yeah, what we'll do is we're gonna set up, because we've been on here for 2 hours, but I want to set up an extraterrestrial build, and you know, if you would like to step on, man, you are more than welcome. You know,
Oh yeah, we can do
Nagi,
that.
you already know. I know you up on the extraterrestrials.
Come on, big bro. You already know.
Yeah,
Oh.
definitely. So yeah, what we'll do is I'm gonna let everybody get their piece in before we cut it, just because, like I said, been on here for 2 hours. But yeah, and Cootie Mayo, thanks on the images, man, because I've been looking at them. They've actually been creepy, like real life. But yeah, you know, we definitely going to put together this time on Friday. I was going to build and do this build last night, but my kids wanted to watch horror movies, so we got to watching some scary movies, man, and you know, had to switch it over to tonight. But yeah, what about UFO Friday? What y'all up for?
I'm down.
Yeah, definitely, man.
King, what you
Whenever you
got? You
want to
want to
throw
hop
it.
on? Yeah, we can get it in, man. So we'll go ahead and shut down so everybody can have a great night. Let everyone get some rest and relax and, kind of unwind. The night's over. You've made it through the night. Unless you're in the West Coast, you still got a little bit of time. So yeah, I'll go ahead and let y'all piece up and we'll cut it short. Whoever wanted to start, go ahead.
I'll start. Appreciate you, big bro, and New for having me on the panel. Just give a little bit of my stories. Big ups to Cure Mayo, everybody on the panel. Who do I see? West, Joshua. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Y'all already know. Feathers up, tribe up, wise up, rise up.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on. All right, Cherokee King Yeshua. You gonna go ahead and piece up before we head out?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Everybody, thanks for listening. Y'all had some good stories, and I can't wait to do that build about the UFOs because I got a lot of information about that, and I can connect a lot of dots.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and schedule that for Friday. Friday around 8 or 9 Eastern Standard. So just keep an eye out on my alerts, and I'll be sure to alert in advance.
Okay.
But you're more than welcome to hop on, man. It'd definitely be good to have you on.
Okay.
Good looking now.
Coming, man. For sure.
All right, G West, you gonna go ahead and piece up?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed everybody's stories, and I appreciate all of you guys. I hope y'all have a good night.
Oh yeah. I'm hoping those who made it late kind of go back to the beginning so they can kind of be terrified. So
freaked out.
But yeah. Cootie Mayo.
Yeah, man. Just thanks for having me on. As always, man. Your builds are pretty interesting. It's not always the same thing, and I enjoy them. I just want everybody to know that this is in no way for me personally like we're worshiping any of this or like we live off this stuff or we feed onto this stuff. The Halloween night, these things happen. I'm sure everybody has a ghost story. Anybody can relate, and so just don't take it to the heart, but always stay vibing high, stay positive. When you vibe low, when you're full of fear, like Joshua was saying, you're more easily susceptible to be possessed, to be haunted, to be messed around with by these spirits, falling angels, whatever you want to call them. So vibe up. I hope I didn't scare too many people with the images. It was getting a little crazy, so brought back this Halloween image and put the music more chill right now so we can leave on a better note. But thanks for having me, man, and I hope everybody has a great night.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for showing up, everybody. Those who came in the chat. I know people normally listen to my videos in the daytime, and I do understand. I'm not gonna lie, it ain't just you. I get a lot of comments who say, nope, I'm listening in the daytime. But yeah, I like to have fun and switch it up. This build was just only because, of course, the season. Like Cody Mayo said, don't think anybody like vibes off this stuff. It was just a way to, the world's crazy right now. So I like thinking of ways and things we could talk about that we can come outside of the craziness and the insanity that's going on out there. And maybe, get a scare or a good laugh, get some good vibes, some good feelings, and that's the big thing. So I don't want the builds to be the same. And I enjoy having everybody on. And I thank everyone for being so peaceful and respectful when they're up here, because it's greatly appreciated. I can feel, even though we're telling ghost stories, I could still feel a high vibe and a good vibe. So thank y'all for coming on. It's greatly appreciated. I told you, Yeshua, I'm gonna hold that to you, man. You're gonna have to show up on that UFO build, all right?
Yeah, I got you, bro. I got a lot of information, bro, about that. Like, I've been like, honestly, man, it might sound crazy, but I've been on my path since I was like, since I started writing songs and stuff when I was into that, when I was like 7 years old, bro.
Hey,
And I'm 38, about to be 39.
yeah, we gonna drop it, man. I want Cootie Mayo with Nagi. Got to get back on. G, you want to hop on? But I want to correlate UFOs, possibly getting the fallen angels, reptilians, lost worlds, expanded maps. I want to have some fun with it. You know, something people could vibe with. But I do want to thank everybody, and we're gonna go ahead and cut this one off. And remember, everyone, have a wonderful evening. All right, so I catch y'all up, man. We'll deuce out.
Have a good night.
All right, bro. All right,
For sure.
Channel.